to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY!
Yes.
43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, we greatly appreciate you. Hope you're having a great start to your day. What an unbelievable, fantastic weather day it is, or weather week it has been, with this beautiful Chamber of Commerce. Kind of chilly in the morning, but beautiful. No humid days. You gotta love it, and you better enjoy it, baby, because it won't last forever. But we'll take it while we can get them. Appreciate you. Jim Coyle with you as always. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda, of course. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com and the best in new and used vehicles. And in addition to the Autograph app, where real fans get unreal rewards, the first app to track and reward fans for loving what they love most, turning passion into access and experiences. Download the Autograph app in either Apple App Store or Google Play today. Autograph, where unhinged fandom meets unreal rewards. You can just go to either of those two locations, Apple App or Google Play, or just go straight to the link.ag.fan/ISB media, and make sure you get that in. Last night down in Borden, Indiana at Huber's Winery and Orchard, another fun night, sold out night for Indiana's NIL event, as Mike Woodson, Kurt Signetti both spoke, and there were a number of players down there as well. A packed crowd of peeps from the 812, and it was awesome getting to see so many of you. And also, it's amazing to me. I am always blown away and grateful to everyone that introduces himself to me. I'm in awe and amazed at how incredible our audience is. You guys are awesome. Great people like Andrew from Nashville, who came up and introduced not only himself, but his entire family to me. So it was a pleasure to meet everybody, as always, and then getting to see some old friends as well. Miles Rice, got to see him for the first time last night. Did not get to talk to him, but saw him and just chatted with him off to the side. But we spoke with Mike Woodson and Kurt Signetti, like I said, and we will hear from Mike Woodson here in a little bit and talk more about that as well. If you were there, give us a shout out. Let me know what you thought, what your takeaways were. Let's see. IU basketball players will be arriving on campus here next week, I believe, and summer workouts will begin. Mike Woodson alluded to that last night on how that's going to determine his squad this year. And then, of course, the draft, the deadline, it's has come and gone. As we'll go over who stayed and who went. One of the I don't want to say biggest names, but just names of curiosity. Bronny James ended up staying in the draft, and well, I wonder. I know that LeBron wants to play with his son, and he has the unique ability to force that issue. But how proud can you be when you force that issue? If it's not going to happen in reality, what are you teaching? Not only to me are you teaching the wrong thing, but I guess I don't need to tell somebody else what their opinion is on that. But hello to everybody as well. Jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Alex Caravan, one of those that jumped back out of the draft, and we'll be going back to Connecticut. We'll talk about who won and who lost. Alabama seems to be a big winner as they get a couple of guys. And as a matter of fact, some have them preseason. I mean, the way too early preseason, but now you have a better idea of who has what coming into next year, although there will be some guys that like big time of available transfers now, like Coleman Hawkins, the former Illinois player who did get withdrawal from the draft, but he has also hit the portal. And after going through the pre-draft process for the second consecutive year, he elected to return to school and will be one of the top transfer portal targets available. So Hawkins is he's a veteran forward. You know him, you saw him in games last year, and man, he's a pretty good available pick right now. Big man. So it will be interesting to see where he ends up. Arizona gets a little love with Caleb Love. So all kinds of things to talk about. Yeah, the nepotism. I don't mind helping your kid. I'm all about that. I get that. But when this is professional sports, man. If your kid is good enough to play, he should be able. I would think you'd want them to earn it on their own. Because what are you telling them other than, oh, I'm, a bad man. I've got sway. Well, we already know that about LeBron. Of course he does. But this to me is more about him. About him dictating what he's going to get to do. And I don't know. It is what it is. So there's no point in beating on that dead horse. I think that you either see that for what it is or you don't. So how's everybody doing? Appreciate you being with us. Looking forward to talking to Shannon Griffith on the program today. The man Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. I'm sure we'll recap a little bit of the Indy 500 and move forward from there. Tyler Smith, get you caught up on what is going on in the world of recruiting and updating on all things Indiana from thehoosier.com as well. So lots to come around, and hopefully we're finally entering a quieter time now for me. It's all about me now. Just kidding. But yeah, I have to be honest with you. I'm going to be one of the happiest people in the world if we get a little slowdown time now. It's just seemed like it's been non-stop since the season ended, basketball season. Things have just gotten busier. Part of that was because the Pacers did well, so that was a carryover. But you've had so much other things going on, whether it has been AAU basketball or the PGA, the Derby, the Indianapolis 500, tons of AAU, not only the AAU, but tons of it. There's been at least 4 events that I think that I can remember that have taken place in the Indianapolis area where we have seen guys. So, that are IU targets. And that's one of the things I asked Mike last night we'll talk about is, how do you balance? He talked about recruiting this past summer off season's recruiting out of the portal, and they did a great job. But I also noticed in going back and listening to everything again that I asked 2 questions, and I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one. But it was like, then there was another question like 3 later And it seemed like he answered my question with that answer. And I'm like, well, that would be great if I could take that answer and put it behind my question, because that's kind of what I asked. Just kind of funny how coaches answer things sometimes. But one of the things I asked about was, he talked about the new norm of recruiting via the portal. And I asked, about how do you balance that now with old school, the old fashioned recruiting, those things they call freshmen to be high school seniors. But we'll hear what Mike has to say about that. Coach Signetti, his first meeting with the peeps, as he met with the people down there. He was very congenial. And I think that he got his point across without being rah-rah, but you can tell he's a man of few words, but not that he didn't speak. It's just that he's concise as to what he talks about. He's not going to sit there and blow a bunch of smoke up your skirt. He's going to tell you, but the thing is, it's not that a lot of other people don't mean what they're saying. It's just there's more accurate conviction there. How about that? So there's that. Appreciate the Dwayne jumping on with us. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Russell. There's a long line of us. But yeah, there was plenty of questions asked. He answered pretty much everything last night. There's not a ton. There's not anything earth-shattering. Trey Galloway's health, talked about that. He's returning from the minor surgery. But the depth, this team has depth, and that is something that, to be honest with you, Indiana has not had at multiple positions, and that's something that they basically have now for the most part. They're very deep at guard. They're deep enough at the big spot, I think, because of having the luxury of having Malik Renew, who could probably flip from the 4 to 5 back and forth. But it's going to definitely be a different team for the Hoosiers this year. Without question. We've got lots more coming up. Shannon Griffith joins us next. We'll talk some Indiana football for a minute. We've got lots more coming up. Again, brought to you by the Autograph app, where real fans get unreal rewards. The first app to track and reward fans for loving what they love most, turning passion into access and experiences. Download the Autograph app in either the Apple App Store or Google Play today. Autograph, where unhinged fandom meets unreal rewards. Use the code ISB Media. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. Why that Brady song is in my head, I don't know. It's crazy how some things. There we go. I'm looking for.
There's the famous Shannon Griffith. It looks like he's setting something up, so I'll give him a moment before I bring him in. All right. You got us, Shannon?
Hey there. Sorry about
Welcome
that.
in. No, you're good. You got about a minute or so still.
I just got back from being out on the road and running a little behind.
On the road again.
Oh, everywhere I drove was 3 hours, man. It's nuts. Should have stopped down and said hello to you. I was down in Louisville.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Land of the plenty. Land of Scotty Scheffler trial, which thankfully all that stuff got dropped for Scotty.
Thankfully. Thankfully for the LMPD, it got dropped.
Oh, I wasn't specifying for who, and I could care less about the LMPD, but I shouldn't say like that, but like they put themselves in a number of bad situations the past few years.
Yeah, I didn't even know the IU gig was yesterday down in that area.
All right, here we go, guys.
And enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back here on this Thursday. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you greatly. Brought to you by our good friends at the Chop Shop Market and Table, home of Indiana men's and women's basketball coaches and the football coaches shows, located just north of Bloomington High School South on South Walnut. They're your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live. Chop Shop Market and Table offers a great sit-down dining experience for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, where you can even pick out your own steak from their on-site butcher or choose from their incredible daily dinner specials. Chop Shop's Butcher Shop offers quality meats like locally sourced Wagyu steaks, seafood, and more. And don't miss out on their daily in-house made bakery items like cakes, pies, pastries, all mouth-watering. And I am looking forward to getting some of that today. Welcome in, Shannon Griffith. How are you, sir?
Doing fine.
It's been a minute, or I guess just a week.
Feels like a minute.
Seems like so much longer than that. Seems like so much longer.
There's been a lot that's happened in the last week.
Yeah. Tell me more. Do tell.
Well, first and foremost, this Juju Lewis thing, big weekend for the recruits coming in for their so-called official visits this weekend. Big group coming in, and Juju Lewis being one of them, who's already committed to USC, the quarterback, nationally rated quarterback, has about $1 million already in NIL deals. After this weekend, he's supposed to visit USC again, Colorado, Auburn, and I believe another institution I can't think of off the top of my head. But Tino Sinceri's relationship with this young man has got them to this point. Don't know if he'll end up at Indiana, but hey, if they can get him, they got a chance on campus. And it looks like that's going to happen this weekend. So, hey, all the best with that one. That would be a huge get for Coach Signetti and the staff as a whole, even though they've got a pretty good quarterback room already. You never can be too overloaded at the quarterback position in today's game with the portal and stuff.
Not if you can bring number one in. No.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, right. I mean, it's just one of those things that, if you got a shot at something like this, you got to take it. And it sounds as if that they're actually getting some national attention from bringing this kid in. I was watching a show the other day talking about this visit and how Indiana had slid into this kid's top 5 or whatsoever. And I'm not sure what's going on with USC. I still can't figure it out. I can't figure out why, this kid's a strong commit to USC, but still visiting. That just doesn't make sense to me. But, hey, these 18-year-old kids nowadays, they're taking advantage of every opportunity to gain exposure and explore the world of value. That's what it's about. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's about.
Keyword value. Yeah. A couple of years ago, I don't know how many coaches would have stood for the fact of having a commitment that was going to be going on 5 other official visits while committed.
Exactly.
It would really, we're not in that era now, so it doesn't matter. So there's no point in talking. There's no different in talking about 2 years ago as if it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that all changed, with this new settlement. Exactly what, I don't know if that was where you were going with this all, but this new settlement that's come to the forefront now changes everything. It changes everything on how you do things and how you approach things, even though some things won't be totally ironed out till next fall of 2025. But you got to be prepared on what it may, entail for you as an individual program.
One of the things I thought of yesterday was that you don't have to go very far, just at professional sports. 30 years ago in Major League Baseball, the average salary was $1.1 million. Okay. There are NIL guys making that now. Not very many. There's not a lot that are making $1 million, as much as not nearly as much as people think. But my point is, today's Major League Baseball average salary has tripled that. Just the average salary to 3.2 million. So the time just has to pass. It's not into the sphere of acceptance yet. There are still too many people who I don't like to. Nobody likes it. Every time I hear somebody start out with "I don't like," I just want to say stop. Nobody likes it. But guess what? You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. It is what it is. It's here and it's going forward. Now, whether or not there's some changes that need to be made, there's without no question about that. And first and foremost is the ability to have multi-year agreements with these players, in my opinion. If you don't get that, then you're never going to have a handle on this thing. If you don't have some kind of control, you cannot give all of the control with no barriers, no guardrails to the players. They deserve to be paid. I'm all about that. But I don't think they deserve to be able to have that ability. No coach is going to jump from school to school to school to school in a 4-year period. So every time that's another argument that does not fly. Well, coaches, no. What coach do you know goes from school to school to school to school in a 4-year period? Doesn't happen. So it neither should that happen from a player standpoint for multiple reasons, especially with all the wherewithal that goes into all of this. So there are things that need to be fixed. Granted, I'm the first one in line with that, but the I don't like, just stop with it. It's nobody does. It's here and just got to figure out how to get it. But
no, you're right. You are absolutely right as it pertains to how does the institution ultimately protect their investment in an individual. And even, whether it's in the Big Ten or the new super conferences or how all this all works out, you've got to have some control. Like you said, the buyer has to have at least some value of control over the situation and, build in clauses if a coach leaves or however you want to look at it. And that's the thing that they're going to have to work out. On top of this is, how does football figure into this equation with this new 20 to 22 million that's coming in, in the next budget year? How does that get sliced? I think Signetti even mentioned it last night, 11 million will go to the women's sports and 11 million will go to the men's sports. Well, when you get to football, how does that equate in the equation? They're going to get 75% of that 11 million because they have the biggest roster. And that's the one thing that coaches are really concerned with, this 100-player roster, unlimited scholarships, but you can only have 100 players. Well, in the sport of football, they wanted the roster limit to be updated to 135 about 5 or 10 years ago because of injuries. Kids getting a concussion that ultimately could lead him out, being out for a month. I don't see the 100 cap on the number of players.
I saw talk of moving it the other way though too.
Other way in terms of upward?
Less.
Yeah, no, I know. There's just no way that's there's no coach out there right now going to say that having less than 100 players is a viable model for college football with the sport that is as physical as it is. It's the most physical sport outside of in terms of injuries, outside of gymnastics, believe it or not. In some respects, gymnastics has more injuries than football does, by a study that was done a few years ago. There was more knees and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is, from a physicality standpoint, kids running into each other, there's no sport that is anywhere close to other sports, in terms of relatability. And I've always said this: the first mistake that ADs or presidents or whatever is done when it comes to Title IX and other thought processes is trying to throw football in with the rest of the sports that they offer. It is a totally different ball game. Football needs to be talked about on its own as it pertains to the other sports that a school offers. You can lump everything else together. You're looking at similar numbers for other sports. But football, when you have 11 players starting on the field at one time, and you may have 22 different type of starters offensively and defensively, there's no sport like that. So I don't know what they're going to come up with at the conference level, the national level, but I just can't imagine that any football coach out there would accept a roster limit of less than 100 players. I just can't imagine that, because it'd be detrimental in terms of depth, having the depth necessary to play the game of college football.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how this affects Indiana football, because this is, again, something that goes in Indiana football's favor. They need that program, probably needs this more than any, without question, any program at Indiana, just because of the lack of resources previously. Scott Dolson didn't speak last night, which is normally that's not the case, unless I missed it, but I haven't was out in the main area or something, and he spoke beforehand, but I saw him there briefly, and but I don't think he spoke last night. So, but Indiana football has to continue to generate more money, and they're the first thing that comes to mind is they need the suites and all of that stuff. And I know, as crazy as that sounds, it's chicken and the egg kind of a thing, but if you build it, will they come? Not if you don't have a solid product on the field. We've seen that with in this Indiana program, but I just think that things have changed. I really believe that Curt Cignetti is going to make a difference. He's too laser focused, but he has the ability. He has the proven ability. He has the experience of doing this very thing. This is not his first head coaching job. That is a gigantic difference. He has a staff that has not only also experienced, but been with him for quite some time. That continuity cannot be overstated.
No, and the one thing that I think gives you a lot of hope in Coach Cignetti and the blueprint that you can kind of see being developed over the last several months is what he did after spring ball. And they identified, not that it was rocket science, because I think everybody could see it, that they were deficient at defensive line. They were deficient a little bit at the linebacker position, and they were deficient in the secondary. What does he do? He goes out and fills those needs. He gets a cornerback that was a freshman of the year that was wanted by a ton of top 25 type of programs, including the Alabamas of the world and all that, and the Pons kid that came ultimately to him from JMU. And that was a huge get for them. That was one of those, gives us one cornerback that we feel that can shut down a team's best receiver. And the other positions, being able to get a kid like CJ West from Kent State added to the defensive line area that is still, was very suspect after spring ball. So he does a good job, in my opinion, being able to be very analytical in his approach to recruiting and what they need and how he's going to fulfill it. Sometimes he'll fill it based on what's in the portal. He also understands the value of building a program with quality high school football players, and he's done that. So everything right now, you can see how his blueprint and what he means by implementing that blueprint has been developed since he's gotten there, and what he has done in plain view in terms of the type of kids that he wants to go to get, and then being able to be a competitive force against other institutions where they're just not settling for the second best kid or the third best kid in some respects. Now, ultimately, productivity and what they do on the field will ultimately be the biggest judgment of that blueprint, but you have to look at it objectively and say, right now, what he's done in a short period of time has been very impressive with what he's got at his disposal. And like you said, if they can get themselves to build up the press box with suites and things of that nature, I believe Scott Dolson will do everything he possibly can to give him what he needs. He's done that already with some of the new turf in the Mellencamp field house, and then of course the weight room and things of that nature. You can kind of see the wheels starting to turn in a fashion where they can get themselves where they need to be football wise.
Yeah, no question. And there was a funny, someone mentioned Justin B said that Cignetti's a hard ass, such a breath of relief from the LEO culture. Last night, Don Fisher, who was emceeing the event, asked him if he had been a kicker. He said, "Were you a kicker?" He goes, "I was kicking ass." And I'm like, boom, right off the cuff. I mean, that's Indiana's football coach now. That's the difference in mentality that we're talking about. And I'm not, saying anything negative about Tom Allen or anything else. I'm just speaking to the difference in mindset, the difference in the culture that is trying to be established. And it's not that he's you probably could define him as a hard ass, but
he's a Pittsburgh guy.
What's Nick Saban like?
Yeah.
Is he viewed as a cuddle bear? I don't think so. Quite the opposite. And there's reasons for that. And again, I'm not trying to push, some line of thinking onto somebody, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and even though he is a Pittsburgh guy, the reality of it is he's got the Midwestern background and philosophical approach. So yeah, he's got a hard ass mentality from his days being in Pittsburgh and the family that he came up in, and what he's done to get to this point. I mean, he has not taken a road of easiness. He's gone through schools that maybe not have had a history of winning up until he got to JMU, and prior to all those stops, he's made their programs winners in some fashions instantly.
Absolutely. Shannon Griffith, appreciate you as always, my friend. We could sit there and talk about this for a minute, but we've got plenty of time as the summer rolls around.
Absolutely.
Before fall camp, brother.
It'll be here quick.
You're not lying. Shannon Griffith joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, as he does each and every week. Brought to you by our good friend Cheryl Sizemore, Remax Realty. For those in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her two decades of experience. Could be the difference between getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl, at IndyHomePros.com. Shannon, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Man. Have a good weekend.
You too. Up next, the man, Bob Kravitz, from BobKravitz.com. Right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for...
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Robert.
How are you?
I bet you don't get called Robert very much.
Only when my mother was alive and she was pissed at me.
I knew that was coming.
Robert.
Robert!
Get your ass over here.
What's your middle name, unless you don't want to say
My middle name, Larry, Lawrence. Lawrence.
He froze. Just perfect timing.
No, he said Lawrence. We hear you. Maybe it's just you. It was Lawrence.
I was hoping it was something like Aloysius.
Aloysius? No.
Yeah. Robert Aloysius.
Robert Aloysius.
Oh, then you could have been the Rack.
The Rack. Been called worse.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. No complaints. Played a little golf yesterday.
Shocker.
I played really well.
Not a shocker. Never.
Shot an 85 with an 18 handicap. I think I'm in the money.
Man, you're just killing it.
Yeah, that's what semi-retirement's about.
Gritty on here said that she has a nephew that has been playing golf for about a year, and he shot an 82 or something at Sultan's Run the other day. I'm like, that should not even be possible.
After a year?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know that they're counting all the strokes. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But maybe this person is a prodigy. Who knows?
Or maybe it's the strength of getting it out there, I guess. But that's not something I can do.
No, that's good golf after 1 year. That's good golf after 25.
But who was the football player, John, a couple years ago that ended up decommitting from Indiana, going to TCU?
Josh Hoover.
Quarterback Josh Hoover. He picked up golf during COVID, and his first round, he shot like an 85.
Oh, man, I hate people like that.
He spent the whole winter practicing chip shots and this, because that's all he could do. And
he had a tee time after the interview with us, he told us.
He's just, and then many times those athletes like that, especially quarterbacks and pitchers, are just freaking good.
Yeah, they are. Hockey players, Some hockey players are good sticks.
Wasn't Gretzky a golfer?
He's pretty good golfer. I mean, his son-in-law is Dustin Johnson.
All right, here we go, guys.
9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday. Appreciate you being with us. As always, brought to you by Freethink Apparel and Promotions. Whether you need 24 T-shirts for your upcoming family reunion or 200 for the Summer Baseball League, Freethink Apparel meets your printing needs. Their team of industry experts work with you to design a professional-looking, sales-generating web store of your very own for your own custom-designed apparel and promotional merchandise, whether it's a large corporation to small businesses, high school sports teams, national accounts. Freethink Apparel delivers no matter where you are. Visit freethinkapparel.com today and get printing. Speaking of printing, it's not Bob Kravitz, but he's a typer. He's typing. Would have been a better segue had that been typing, but
yeah, go with it.
There's hardly no printing anymore. I miss reading the paper.
I know. And the shame of it is that as technology has increased in the journalism business, deadlines have actually gotten earlier. So if you pick up your Indianapolis Star, and I'm not just pointing out the Star, because
right.
A lot of newspapers, their deadline is 1:00 in the afternoon. So any game that's played in the evening,
that day,
they can't get it into the paper. I remember the days when, we had midnight deadlines, 11:45. We were busting our ass trying to make those deadlines just so we could get something in the paper the next morning. But that's a relic of another time. Shame.
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's because most of the papers are printed far away from their readers.
That has a lot to do with it. And look, everything the newspapers try to do is online now. Hey, the only reason we still have a physical newspaper is because of display ads. Display ads make a lot of money for the newspaper. So there's your journalism.
If it completely goes away, that'll stink. That'll just really.
Well, it's a matter of time.
All kinds of things we can talk about. First and foremost, I guess, the vaunted Indianapolis 500. And after much fear and it did come to fruition somewhat with the rain, but it was not a washout like I thought it might end up being. It was just a several-hour delay, but they got the race in just fine. And what a hell of a race it was.
Incredible.
You had Kyle Larson, who was a part of the story right up until toward the end when he had a speeding penalty on pit road, a mishap there that cost him a potential top 5-6 finish. Mm-hmm. He was running right up there with him. But the finish again, Joseph Newgarden showing his just savviness as a driver. Second year in a row, he's kind of done the same thing. And boy, it was a cat and mouse game between he and Pato O'Ward at the end of this year's 500.
It was incredible. The thing that impressed me most was looking at the crowd after the race had been resumed, and I'm telling you, nobody left.
I talked about that all week, Bob.
For a 3 or 4 hour rain delay, your car is going to be encased in slop by the time you get out there. And it looked, I'm sure some people left. It's hard to tell when there are 345,000 people there, but I did not see a lot of empty seats when that race resumed. And bless IndyCar or Indy 500 fans, because they stuck it out. They were rewarded for Stan because they got just a wonderful race, 18 lead changes, which is a record for the Indianapolis 500. Lots of passing, obviously, a lot of great racing, a lot of 3 wide, 4 wide, and it was just a tremendous race. And then for it to come down to Award, I felt bad for Award. I mean, he's been right on the edge, knocking on the door so many times, and he hasn't quite broken through yet. But I would suggest to you that in the next couple of years, Pato Award's going to be drinking the milk.
You would think so. Look at Brian. He's a hard fanatic, man. He sat in his car with his wife and his son for 5 hours waiting for that race. But like you said, I talked about that earlier this week. Man, I was like, if there was an empty seat, I didn't see it. And that is one of the most astonishing things I've ever seen for a delay that long. We're not talking about a half-hour lightning delay. It was hours. And man, they're like, nope, we're not going anywhere. So Indianapolis was rewarded. Well, I shouldn't say Indianapolis was rewarded because there was still the blackout in place. That's a whole nother discussion. But
well, they lifted it, you know.
Oh, they did. I was not.
Yes, yeah.
I was watching it on something else.
About 1 o'clock or so, with the rain delay going on, they announced that they were going to lift the blackout for that day. Because for a very simple reason, they already had those butts in the seats. They already bought their tickets. They already bought their overpriced beers. They already bought their concessions. They already bought their T-shirts and other stuff. Excuse me. So they said, well, let's as a big thank you. What largesse from these people. They said we'll lift the blackout. Look, this is what we need to do. We need to establish that if they sell 90 to 95% of all tickets, lift the blackout. Make it an automatic threshold, whatever number you want, 90%, 95%. But if you get that close, I mean, they were not going to lift the blackout when there were only 5,000 seats in the grandstand. Are you kidding me?
I found that to be very, very disingenuous.
Yeah, that was very disingenuous. So it was, we were able to watch it on the tube if you wanted to.
Well, also Scotty Scheffler, shocker. This just in, all charges are dropped. Yeah. I'm like, I'm sure they are. Have you seen the videos? Because I'm still waiting for that one coming in showing the officer being dragged.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, we may not have seen the thing in its entirety, but I think this is just a giant misunderstanding. I think Scheffler screwed up by not listening to the security guy. The security guy was a little overzealous. I think that's the best. That's the best they could do is drop the charges and let's move on with our lives, because there are more serious issues going on in Louisville and other cities than a guy making a mistake, outside the course.
Absolutely. And last night we had the event down at Huber's. Mike Woodson meeting with the media for the first time since the end of the season, last time since until the season starts or thereabouts. Same with Kurt Signetti, our first face-to-face with him in a while, and the last for a while as well. His first opportunity to meet the large crowd down at Huber's, which I know you've been down there, so you know what that's about.
Sure.
And it was another full house down there, and I think Indiana fans got what they came for. And Mike Woodson spoke about the team he's got coming back, and we'll see how that all plays out. But I think that Kurt Signetti won his portion of the fan base over.
Did he? I mean, he's a funny personality. I've only dealt with him on a very short period. I thought he was being a hard ass at his introductory press conference. I thought he was he had a little bit of a jerkish edge, which maybe that's what IU needs after the LEO days. And God bless Tom Allen. He brought them to places they haven't been in many years. And I love the whole LEO thing, but this guy's different. And this guy's going to be on edge. And maybe that's what they need. And you know what? If they don't win, he ain't going to last long, because that personality does not have legs if you lose.
Absolutely not. It doesn't do it. There's no point to it. It's that would be business as usual. And that lasted for a long time at Indiana, but that can just simply no longer be the case at this time in college athletics. There has to be a change.
And what was the deal with Woody complaining that the big bad media took it, was overly critical of Mackenzie and Baco? Everybody, I'm getting so tired of these guys bitching and moaning about the media. I really am. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we all said the kid is lost. Okay. He'll find it because he's a freshman, but he was lost. We reported what we saw with our own eyes. And then as he improved and as he refined his game, we wrote that he is improving and refining his game. And he ended up being freshman of the year in the Big Ten. So I don't know what in God's name Woody's talking about. Real fans, let's stop. Just stop already and coach your team and win something.
Yeah, I think sometimes he might confuse media with fan blogs or whatever. I don't know. But it's also it's an out. It's an out that don't take that road. Take the high road. Don't take try to lay that on somebody else.
I see all these criticisms of Fever coaches and players. I'm like, they're coming from fans. They're not. I mean, the media hasn't. There's not one media person who's ripped Christy Sides, the coach for the Fever, for starting 1-7. Not one.
Oh, maybe not there, but there's a lot of fans that are wondering why.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Fans, yeah, but you're saying the media is crushing. Yes. Look, I think as a media person, is she a great coach? I don't know, but they've started off with the most miserable schedule in the history of the WNBA. With a young team that finished last year, that finished last the year before, won 5 games 2 years ago. What in the hell do you expect? So I think Caitlin has this incredible fan following, and they're getting very involved in ripping the hell out of Christy Sides.
What I meant to mention this a minute ago when I was talking about Indiana football. They have Juju Lewis coming in this weekend. He is the #1 overall recruit in college football. That is a first of all time for Indiana.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now what position does he play?
Quarterback.
Oh, he's a quarterback. How intriguing.
He's committed to USC, but he's taking his official visits, and one of those is to Indiana.
Well, good for them. Well, I mean, we said with it's funny. You want to go for the big guys, and then when they don't get them, it's like, why'd you put all your make it? Why are you going after the big guys when you can't get him? He's already committed. So. But look, I'm glad they're at the big boy table. And I think that's an important thing, just the way Mike Woodson has been at the big boy table. He hasn't been able to close the deal on McNeely and Fland and people like that. But I'm glad that they are dreaming big.
Absolutely. What's up next for you?
Well, some Pacers fallout, of course. Colts have an availability. The Fever are getting going. They got 2 home games this weekend, and I'm gonna take a little time here and there during the summer. But we also got the vote coming up on the soccer, which I hope passes. It's supposed to pass, and Indianapolis can get on its way getting a MLS team.
Yeah, what do you think the odds of that of happening?
Really good. Really
Very,
good.
very cool.
I think it's clear that Hogsett went out and met with Don Garber, who runs the MLS. They met for 90 minutes, and I believe that it was made crystal clear that if you can get the stadium, if you build it, we will come. And, the USL, they do a nice job. Carroll Stadium, Indy 11, love what they bring to the city. But if you have an opportunity to bring in MLS, then by God, you do it. I remember in Denver, people loved the old Denver Grizzlies, the minor league hockey team. They're like, do we really want the Quebec Nordiques to come down to LA? Yes, you do. Any time you have a chance to get a professional, the highest level of sport into your city, then by God, you do it.
Absolutely. Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. Make sure that you should be a subscriber. Absolutely following Bob Kravitz there. Appreciate you, my friend.
Appreciate you, man. Be well.
Absolutely. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Just go to freethinkapparel.com. They meet your printing needs no matter where you are. Up next, Tyler Smith joins us from thehoosier.com. Back with all that and more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market for...
Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning.
Excuse me. Were you down at Huber's last night?
I was not. I'm having some kid and dog sickness issues.
Oh, that's no good.
Very strange at the same time, too.
Yeah.
Sunday ball tomorrow.
I'll be right back. All right. All right, here we go. 30 seconds, Jim.
Pretty Shore Construction, now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday. An absolutely beautiful day in central Indiana. I hope it is that way all across the area, wherever you are. Chamber of Commerce weather. A little chilly in the studios this morning, today, rather. I'm not going to lie. Tyler Smith from thehoosier.com joining us now. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I cannot complain. Nobody wants to listen to it. But what is new at thehoosier.com?
Well, here in about an hour and a half, there's going to be a new addition to the Assembly Ball team, so we'll look out for that. The 5th edition coming. They've got Williams and Morgan and Kopp and Green, and a lot of rumors swirling. And when I talked to Devontae Green, he said a lot of rumors. He's like, wasn't sure of exactly who was coming, but there's a lot of interest. So the Twitter account for Assembly Ball, the Hoosier alumni team, is saying you're going to want to pay attention to 11 a.m. Eastern today for that 5th edition.
Yeah, I reached out to Christian as well to see. Hopefully we can get him on the show maybe tomorrow. I saw a lot of hopes for who that might be. A former point guard is a name that I've seen pop up a lot. I haven't checked to see what his availability is at the moment as far as where he has been. But that I don't want to go off on a tangent. So, and it not be that. So, but interesting that they are still putting that squad together. They're just over a month away from play, or is it like 6 weeks?
Yeah, about middle of July, so a month and a half. And Devontae said they'll practice a little bit before, but not a whole lot because of schedules and all that. But he said that the coach has done it before and said that we've, we're all pro players and we're all in shape, so it won't take much to kind of get on the right track together.
What else did Devontae Green have to say?
What was interesting is he, I kind of figured that when that all happened that he was going to be selected right away. But actually, when he quoted the tweet, that's when they reached out to him because they said, we were originally going to reach out to you, but we thought you were hurt. And Devontae said, I was hurt. I'm just actually now getting back from my injury and I'm good to go now. And my agent said, let's do it. So it was kind of cool how just by him quoting the tweet with the eye emojis piqued their interest in going after him. So, but he's excited. He said, anytime I get a chance to represent Indiana, to wear the red again is going to be an honor, and they got big goals to win the thing, so it should be exciting. Kind of right in the middle of summer there, as you get ready for football and the next basketball season. You got this little taste of some fun basketball in the middle.
There is definitely no end this summer. We've had the AAU season. I've talked about that earlier. Was filled the month of May. It's taken just a little bit of break to start the month of June. You've got the All-Star Series between Indiana and Kentucky, and the juniors and the seniors as well. Then we get back into July. You've got the TBT, and we'll have the EYBL and the 3SSB championships going on throughout July. And then you lead into August, and it's football season. And we're right back to it. So it's pretty much going to be a year-round thing, basically from now on. Hopefully for Indiana fans, at least, with football being a bigger part of that sports outing.
Yeah, and also when you get to late summer, early fall, all these guys that we've been following and covering are talking about making their decisions. So we've got all this AAU action to keep up with, and the quotes and the stats and all this stuff. It's been intriguing to watch. And then once that's over, then you really start to get into decision mode for several of these players. So really the big four, all of them kind of looking at that late summer, early fall range. So that'll be exciting too, especially if Indiana can land a player or two and start to really ramp up for next season and beyond.
Yeah, I asked Woody about balancing that last night. We'll hear about that a little later in the show, but you've got guys like Braylon Mullins and Trent Sisley and Malachi Moreno and Jalen Harrelson specifically that they're chasing after. And you think about how they reloaded their team this year, but that gives them the ability. The Hoosiers will have the ability to go out. Not that I think that they're going to land all four of those guys. The odds of that happening are probably just not great, especially when Indiana is going to have a team pretty loaded, but you don't know who all is going to be leaving, and there will be people leaving regardless, whether it's Mackenzie Mbako or someone like that going out through the draft. Ballo has one season left. There are guys that have one season, but and then you're going to have somebody hit the portal probably. Goody's got one season left, so there's going to be plenty of room, but you've got to get to the point where you can balance having new recruits come in as far as being freshmen and guys that you can balance that with to have a competitive team.
Yeah, I guess one advantage of that as well is not only can you tell all four guys, we've got room for all four of you, let's go. That also allows Indiana a little bit of luxury to, let's say one of those guys ends up committing before the others. If you only have one or two spots, then you have to thread that needle of who you really want, like who's your main target. But the fact that they could land one or two guys and still have space, they don't have to worry about that. They can, as Woody said yesterday, you can just scholarship offers are out there. So we're going to continue to recruit and I hope we get some of these guys. And that's all we can do is just offer our best. But that is, ideally you don't have 7 or 8 guys, 7 or 8 scholarships to fill every year, but times have changed. You can understand why that's the case this year, filling the roster with some veterans, but that is one advantage that you have moving forward.
And I guess you call it camp, whatever for for the basketball program that starts here in a week. Also next week, along the same time that the All-Stars are getting going. Everybody else back on campus. For those that aren't already on campus, they should be arriving by June 2nd, I believe, and then beginning on the following day. So you've got that going for you. In addition to Indiana football with a major visit, multiple visits this weekend, but a major visit in the number 1 overall recruit in the country and quarterback Juju Lewis, who is coming in. I mean, Indiana has probably be last on the possibilities of landing him, and that's not so much a dig at Indiana, and not at all meant to be a dig at Indiana. It's just common sense. He's going to some other big time places. He's already committed to USC. He's going to visit Colorado. So he's going to some places that are just more established to visit.
Yeah, it's still huge for him to even step foot on campus. Even if they don't land him, just the momentum there, the recruiting buzz, the confidence of the coach, and obviously they got to go prove it. Just like IU basketball's got to go prove it. You can look one way on paper, and you got to go prove it on the field and on the court. But just to have some of those names in the building on campus has got to be a good look for other recruits and what they're building. So a lot of exciting things happening in Bloomington. And, it's an exciting time for fans to see what they got coming forward here.
What were your takeaways from Mike Woodson's media opportunity last night with at Huber's?
A lot of good stuff, as you said, nothing too groundbreaking, but I think a couple of things that he said probably piqued the interest of fans in terms of the ability to play small. That's something that he said he's at times they'll play the too big thing, but I think, as I've mentioned on the show, even how the roster was constructed, it shows that they're going to be willing to play one big and 4 wings or whatever the case is. But the fact that he said this year we'll have the ability to play in different ways, that's got to be good news for fans. Galloway update seems like he'll be available by the time the season rolls around, but will be limited in the summer. and the fact of Woodson saying, the next 8 weeks of playing in the summer is going to give them a good indication. And I've mentioned that as well. They really got to use this time to develop and learn who they're going to be before next season, because you don't want another situation where you're a month or two in, or Big Ten season rolls around and you're still talking about new faces and trying to figure out who you are. Use this time in the summer and really ramp up, even if you got to do things differently, ramp up what you're gonna do so you can figure out who you're going to be. But also mentioning times have changed and he's going to continue to recruit. That's good news as well. Can't just rely on the portal. You got to go recruit as well. And it sounds like Woody and his staff are definitely on the road doing both.
There were some winners and losers from the NBA draft. Some step back out. Alabama was a big winner, as they're going to get a couple of guys back, and that'll put them probably at the top of the way too early preseason polls. But they're going to go into the season coming off of an appearance in the national finals or the national Final Four rather, but they are coming back looking strong. UConn gets a good some good news as well, as Alex Caravan is coming back to play for UConn. Can UConn three-peat? That just winning back to back was unbelievable, an accomplishment. But are they a possibility to three-peat?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, what they've built, and then old pal Liam McNeely also going there, and just a stacked. They're deep. They know how to play. And last year I was probably never more confident in a team, filling out brackets as far as who's going to win the whole thing. Like, you just never feel that much confidence. So I wouldn't put it past them. They're on a mission. So first back-to-back since Florida. I don't remember the last time there was a three-peat, but I know it's been a while, and
that would be UCLA.
Yeah, got to figure way back in the day. Yeah, that's a huge goal that they're going to be hungry for, and obviously their roster is fully capable, so they'll be tough.
Absolutely. Arizona also getting Caleb Love, who withdraws from the NBA draft, but they lose Omar Ballo to Indiana. So I'm not sure what they did to fill that void, but I'm not tracking them down at the moment, but just mentioning that. Indiana, the depth that they are going to enter the season this year is something that has not been seen for quite some time. I would have to really scour my brain to think back to when they had a team this deep of guys that could actually be expected to come off of the bench and produce. I don't know how much of a jump that Gabe Cupps is going to make, but if he can make a jump, then all that does is add to your depth, because your guard play is already taking a step up with the additions made in Carlisle and Rice, and a healthy Trey Galloway, a more experienced Gabe Cupps, an unknown Ja'Kai Newton. He's kind of a forgotten man, mainly because we haven't seen him be able to play yet. And Bryson Tucker, the freshman, we don't know what we're going to get, what Indiana will get from him. But Mackenzie Mbako is someone that I would think is the guy that should be expected to make the biggest jump for that team.
Yeah, I would agree, especially the flashes we saw towards the end of last year, his comfort zone, being able to have at least a few of his teammates back and be with the coaching staff. And obviously he's got big dreams of the NBA sooner rather than later. So expect a big jump from him. You mentioned Bryson Tucker. That's the one that I feel like has definitely been kind of forgotten because you focus on the portal, but this kid's got a ton of talent. Don't know if he'll be right away or if he'll have to, develop a little bit. I remember, Stephen Bardo, friend of the show, said that he could be the best player on the team. I mean, that's how much talent he has. So again, don't know if that's right off the bat, but so many, such depth, as you mentioned. They've got 7 starters. So you got to have already figured that out down to 5. And then you got three or 4 more guys that should be able to play heavy minutes off the bench that you feel comfortable with. So good problem to have for the coaching staff, a lot of depth, and that way they can actually cover themselves if they do get the injury bug a little bit.
Well, Mike Woodson alluded to Mackenzie Mbako and kind of blame the media for unrealistic expectations for him last season, which I don't think is fair, because I don't think there were any more expectations for him by the media than there was by anybody else, number one, first of all. But secondly, also, there were no more higher expectations for him than there were of other players at his level. Whether he had gone to Duke, those expectations would have been there. They would have been there still. So, but I put Bryson Tucker in that category this year. But fortunately for him, if that is something he needs in time to develop more to get into the college game, he should have that time with this with the amount of depth now that the Hoosiers have, as opposed to what they had previously, and including last year for Mackenzie Mbako, who had to step right into a starting lineup.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely helpful to have the depth that they have, to not have all the pressure. It's not like, hey, Tucker's coming in to be the savior of the program and he's got to get 20 shots a game and have all those expectations. It's probably a good thing that I mentioned that he's kind of flying under the radar, so he doesn't have that pressure. He's also got Mbako to help him and say, hey, as a freshman, here's kind of what I did to develop and kind of get more comfortable and get going. So that's a good thing. But yeah, Mbako was like the second highest rated player to ever come to the program, and self-proclaimed wanting to be, a one and done and get to the NBA. So obviously those expectations, not just media, but fans and just everybody, it comes with the territory. But I do think Woodson was trying to protect his guy, and I understood what he was doing there. But yeah, it's a great point about Tucker not having that kind of pressure. He's got a team full of talent that can help him develop and at some point unleash him next season.
More importantly, Indiana should over the course of this summer, by adding that depth that they have added in all positions, they should have a lot more competition and amongst themselves, which if you're not competing in the off season, it's going to be harder to compete in season. You need to have, especially the way Mike Woodson would like, if he's wants to get up and down the floor like he has talked about before last season, which we didn't see that, but maybe that was just a product of the inability to do that because of a lack of personnel. That will not be an issue now. And so if that is the desired goal, that should not be a problem, because you have multiple guards that can play the point, multiple guards that can play the two. You've got multiple guys that can play the three. I'm not sure where Jakai will end up, a cross between the two and the three. We'll have to wait and find out to see how they all merge.
Yeah, a lot of positionless basketball, as they say. And, as you're talking there too, I remember last year when Gabe Cupps was talking about the importance of going head-to-head with Xavier Johnson in practice. Of course, Johnson was limited. So whenever Johnson was out, Cupps and others were missing that intensity in practice as well. So the competition that comes from camp and practice, guys battling for positions, battling for playing time, that's going to be a good thing. Cupps didn't have Newton as well, excuse me, to go head-to-head with. So having all those guys is going to help, where you're not just playing, 5-on-0 type stuff, but you're really going after it. That's only going to help this program.
Yeah, Russell mentions something that asking, can the seniors set the locker room atmosphere? And I think that is something that is of grave importance to have pressure put on within the team by the players, putting some pressure on each other to play right, to do the things that they're supposed to do, to make their assignments, to not make the mistakes that cost you games. This team has got to become a better free throw shooting team, whatever that takes, whatever is going on in that realm. I'm not sure. I'm not in there, but there are just some things that overall culturally they have to fix. Shooting has been one of those, and those issues seem to be on paper solved with if Indiana gets a new and improved Mackenzie Mbako, if you get a Luke Goody that can come in and take care of business, if there's less pressure on Trey Galloway now because of this depth that we're talking about, and will allow his the pressure of his shooting to ease up some, and Gabe Cupps, he has got to become a guy that can score the ball, not just bring it up the floor across half court.
Yeah, I also would add, I think Rice and Carlisle will both be solid from three. I don't know that they're going to, light everything on fire and shoot over 40% or anything, but I feel like both of them as freshmen, there were times throughout the year where they would light it up and then have a slump here and there. Playing together, playing in a hopefully what should be a good team. I think they're going to get some open looks, and I could see them both being pretty decent. So overall, you would think three-point shooting would be better. As you mentioned, free throw percentage has got to be better. That's going to be the difference in a lot of games in the Big Ten, especially down the stretch.
Absolutely. What is coming up in the Hoosier.com over the next week or so?
We got full coverage of Indiana, Kentucky All-Star. Also check today for the 5th edition of Assembly Ball. And then we'll really get you set for those AAU championships that are coming up and everything else in between, and roster discussion and all that coming up. So it's going to be a fun time to be a Hoosier fan.
Tyler Smith from the Hoosier.com joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, brought to you by our good friends at Boost Fundraiser. You know anyone that needs a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member, free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, C-O-Y-L-E, and receive a discounted fundraiser. Tyler Smith from the Hoosier.com, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, including we'll hear from Mike Woodson last night at the Huber's Orchard and Winery annual Indiana NIL event. Right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly.
All right, I've got 2 quotes. One of them is about guard play, and another one was a question you asked. I believe it was about depth.
That he actually answered about 3 questions later.
All right, I'll be right back. Hold on.
Yeah, I asked him that question, and he goes, well, we had to. I'm like, you had to what? That's not. I said, I know you needed depth. I asked him how he felt going into the season with depth at each position.
All right.
Oh, John Boy.
Yes, sir.
I put flowers around the studio the other day, whenever, and that was the stupidest thing I've ever done.
How come?
Because you have to, what's called deadhead these things like every day.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't got time for that crap. It's like having a pet. Actually, it's worse. A pet, you can just drop some food down, some water down, and if you have a door, they can go in and out themselves.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to anymoreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Appreciate you being with us as always. Brought to you by our good friends from the Fresh Fork. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse. From hearty proteins to fresh salads, the Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Order online and let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code radio20, get $20 off your first order. You can help mom out, help the wife out, vice versa, whatever. That's an easy way to do that, and you'll look like the king. Plus, you will be supporting those who support Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and of course, we need that, and appreciate all of that. Last night, of course, I was down in Borden, Indiana at Huber's Orchard and Winery for Indiana's annual now NIL event. This event has been going on for some 30 years, 3 decades, but it is now an NIL event. A lot of things that Huber's is doing in conjunction with Hoosiers Connect. They have a bourbon, they have a vodka that 25% of the sales go towards Indiana's NIL. So there's a way that's a great thing because you're giving and you're getting. So that's a good combination. Right, John?
Yes, definitely. Sorry, I would have had my mic on if I knew you were going to throw it to me right there.
Hey, I like to keep you off. I like to keep you on your toes, man.
Yep, that's what it's like being the producer of Indiana Sports Beat sometimes.
Mike Woodson last night had a lot of different questions thrown at him. This one is related to the guard play this year, which will be substantially different than last year, in which you had injuries to Xavier Johnson. You had a very, very green Gabe Cupps thrown into the fire. And so Indiana was, let's just say, more than thin at that position, having had an open scholarship, and they just did not have the guys. They were deeper in other places, but not really. You had Peyton Sparks as a backup, and he provided some okay minutes, but nothing really of substance for most of the part. But this is an entirely different unit for the Hoosiers this year. But it all begins and ends with guard play, and a lot of people had started to wonder, is Mike seeing that? Because for 3 years he had gone with the quote unquote buddy ball of 2 bigs without the involvement of the perimeter play. And that's just not going to win you. You're just not going to be an elite or really successful team if your main attack is the buddy ball, unless you have a Zach Edey. And nobody in college basketball now has that. So But let's hear what Mike had to say in regards to his guard play.
Well, you think about our guard play over, the last 3 years, and it's no knock. I mean, we had guys like X and Fantasy, and we couldn't keep anybody healthy, number one. And I've learned in this short period of time that I've been in college, you win with good guard play. It's great to have big guys that can play and do the things that we've had over the last 3 with our bigs that we've coached. But you win with perimeter and guard play, good guard play. And that was something that we came out of this past season, not having X, the games that he missed, that we had to really amp up our backcourt and get better. And I thought we've done that.
There you go. Talking about his guard play, and he's right. They have. They are, double, if not better so, even more so than that, with guys that you should be able to count on for production. That's a phrase that I keep using over and over. You can't just have bodies. You have to have guys that you can count on for production. If not, that's great for practice, but it's not going to win you games unless you've got a couple of just superstars that are game changers, and that has not been the case either. But now you've got a couple of guys that have been picked up out of the portal that are very, very solid in Rice and Carlisle. You have an experienced Trey Galloway. You have a more experienced Gabe Cupps, like I said. Then you've got an experienced Luke Goody, but he's more of I think he's probably going to be more of a 3. And I think, was it Woodson is in maybe sometimes a 4. I don't know that he's big enough for that, but, and Ja'Kai Newton. So it's the options should be a lot more affordable for the Hoosiers to succeed, to do things. It should give you a lot more options to be able to run on offense. The type of offense that you can run, you can change that up. You can challenge defenses differently because of having more options, and making teams, you're dictating the play towards the other team instead of the other way around with their defense. So that should be an option that Mike Woodson has. And John, I asked him about how does he feel coming into this season with having so much more depth at each position. He didn't really answer that question, but here's what he had to say.
Well, we had no choice. We had guys that left. We had guys that graduated. That's the new norm now, guys. I mean, this is not like the Bob Knight days where you could build your team over 3-4 years and trust the process. Our process now is changing every year because you don't know who's coming and who's going. And it was a busy summer because we had to fill a lot of holes. Based on who left and the guys that graduated. So it was a busy summer.
I've got a question real quick based on what he just said. Did anybody ask or confirm whether or not they're done building the roster? Are they going to leave that final scholarship open?
That's actually a great question, and I do not recall it being asked. I don't always hear all the questions in that situation. I don't remember that question being asked, though, John, and that's a good point. But I think that everyone is assuming that it is partly because of the depth. Normally, that's not something I would ever not jump on and say that's just ridiculous to do. Right now, I wouldn't say that because there's not a player on the bench that you should not be able to count on for some type of production. The last guy in that line would be either Gabe Cupps or Anthony Leal. Hatton is also a new figure as a big, so not sure what you're going to get out of him. But Mike talked about him last night about the potential of using if he at times uses two bigs, about the ability of using Hatton because he can step out and shoot the three. How well, I don't know. I haven't seen him, but that was something else he mentioned last night, which gives you another option, which is exactly what I'm talking about. You've got, let's say you've got Omar Ballo in there playing the five, and then you switch out for Hatton. Well, now you've taken a guy who's only a post player. You brought in a guy who can step out. Well, that puts pressure on the defense because if they've got a guy who is mostly a post player defensive guy, and all of a sudden you've got to make that change, well, then you've got to make a change. So you're impacting how the game is going. You're dictating the style of play. And those are the options that you have to have. You have to force teams to meet you, not the other way around. But Indiana seems on paper, they should be in a much, much better position to do that very thing and to do it at each position. That again, can't say that enough. Some of these guys are unproven, like Bryson Tucker, we don't know. Ja'Kai Newton, we don't know. Hatton, we don't know. I haven't seen him play. And as a team, we don't know. We have to see them all together. But on paper, the pieces all look good. Is the sum greater than the parts? That's the most important thing, and you need that to be the case. It needs to be one cohesive unit, and they've got a couple of months to make that happen. Actually, more than a couple of months, 3 months. The June, July, August. Even September. So that's a pretty good run of working together. That's not a long time, but in today's game, that's a lot. That's how it is for a lot of teams, because you always have major changes. I don't know of a team hardly any teams that are not going to have major changes. Alabama might come to mind. Even UConn. I mean, they lost Donovan Clingan. That's a major change. I mean, you lose your main big guy. That's a major change. Now, I'm not saying he's not replaceable, but it's still a major change, and you have to fill that. And to maintain that level that you have been playing at, it has to be either filled at the same level or somebody else has to rise up. So we've got a long ways to see how it's going to go. But as far as Indiana basketball goes on paper, they should be one of the teams that are looking to fight for a Big Ten championship this year. It's very early to really say that, and I'm only making that statement off of paper, but we shall see. We've got to take another break, I believe.
Yes.
And we'll do that and come back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this beautiful Thursday, brought to you by the Ugly Grouper, located on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Speaking of beautiful, Anna Maria Island, Florida is just that, and it is the place to be, whether you're already in the area or you will be traveling wise, located on that's just west of Sarasota. The Ugly Grouper has so much more than just unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. They also have your favorite craft beers, cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. It is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them we sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. I don't know. I don't really Pac-12 guards versus good guards are good guards.
Just, I don't think that matters. The
Yeah,
biggest example that last year, Dalton Connect came from Northern Colorado. He was one of the best guards in the country.
Well, I don't know that the Pac-12 had a style of play that was anything different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's defense. There's a key. I see a lot of supposeds. We'll see. Supposedly a lockdown guy. Well, we shall see.
Anytime you have somebody coming off an injury and they haven't played for over a year, it's going to be a mystery for a little bit.
No, I wasn't talking about daylilies, but well, actually, you know what? Maybe I am. I don't know what the hell they are. He's talking about my flowers. You know what? I don't know what the hell they are. You got that right, Philip. I need a cactus. I like that.
There you go.
I like the sound of that.
No, what we got?
Yeah, Ross said he let his dogs out a couple hours ago. They're laying out in the sun like they're plants. Yep, this is a sun soaking up day because it's in the 50s right now, upper 50s.
My favorite time of year is right now, whenever it's cool in the morning and then perfect in the afternoon. It's the best.
Succulents are nice. Never have to water them. Well, that's always handy. Watering's a lot easier than dealing with that deadheading. That deadheading is picking every little dead flower off of it. It's like an everyday thing. I got an idea. How about if I just grow some weeds?
All right, here we go.
Or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. I appreciate you being with us as always. Another fun day. Beautiful day coming up. It settles down a little bit for us for a couple of days, but next week it's right back at it as the All-Star games are in action for basketball. Indiana against Kentucky the following weekend, the seniors, but there's a host of things that are going on during the week. You've got the juniors versus the seniors up in Kokomo. You've got the Future Stars games. They've grown that to be so much more. So that's a good way to get out and see guys play. That juniors versus seniors game, I'm telling you, I'm looking as forward to that as anything, because these juniors, not that they probably don't always want to, but this could be in a very interesting challenge for them. You've got Braylon Mullins, whose recruitment has just skyrocketed, and they're not even going to have Jalen Harrelson because he's not eligible, which kind of stinks, because he's playing at La Lumiere Academy up in kind of central northern Indiana. But can you imagine they had Jalen Harrelson too? Holy moly, they would have a top 10 recruit. They would have a probably is going to be a top 40 recruit in Braylon Mullins. Trent Sisley his numbers are probably going to rise. He's probably going to move into the top 75, maybe more. I'm not sure, but heck of a recruiting class for the state next year. And it'll be interesting to see how those games go and who's planning on going to any of those games, whether it's the juniors versus the seniors or the senior all-stars at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on that Saturday night. Always fun. Indiana leads the series. I don't know what the numbers are. I didn't pull that up, but I can just tell you it's about 2.5 to 1 as far as wins for Indiana versus Kentucky. And we'll see if they can continue that ride. Indiana plays in there the games in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, like I said. Kentucky's has moved all around to multiple different places. Whether it's been down at Bowling Green or Western Kentucky, or been in Louisville, it's been in Lexington, it's been in Owensboro. They've been kind of all over with their game. Oh, how about this? NIL, such a big thing. And you talk about how much money, say, Deion Sanders kids are pulling in. Shiloh Sanders, this is unbelievable, facing a bankruptcy lawsuit. Can you believe that? I saw that and I'm like, what? This is unbelievable. But he has another year, at least another year, I think, of football, college football, but he's currently the starting safety for Colorado and his father, Neon, there. His legal woes are under scrutiny as a near decade-long saga continues to unfurl. A decade long. How in the hell does he have a decade-long financial saga when he's only 24? He filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy last October, which, how did we miss that? But he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy last October on the heels of a Texas court judgment against him for nearly $12 million in damages owed to a former security guard at his Dallas high school following an alleged assault. According to court records in Texas and Colorado obtained and reviewed by this week by The Athletic, John Darjean alleged that Sanders, who was then 15, assaulted Darjean during an altercation at AAA Academy in 2015, leaving Darjean with damage to his cervical spine and permanent neurological issues. Sanders has claimed in court records that it was Darjean who was the aggressor. Sanders' declaration of bankruptcy has brought into question his personal net worth in an era of college sports when athletes can cash in on name, image, and likeness rights. And he's one that was thought to be just raking it in. This is what I tell you. Don't listen to all of these. Everybody thinks that all of these guys are making millions of dollars. Well, that's not the case. A lot of it gets blown up, but this is just kind of wacky. Darjean and his attorneys claim in court documents that Sanders did not properly disclose his assets when he filed for bankruptcy. So they are still seeking to collect on the $11.89 million judgment he was ordered to pay after a March 2022 civil trial in a Texas district court that ruled in favor of Darjean. Sanders failed to appear at the trial. Well, that's always helpful. And claims in court documents that he could not afford legal representation at the time. This is the son of Deion Sanders, by the way. Could not afford legal representation. Notice of a new trial dates never reached him. Very convenient. And he did not learn of the default judgment until 2023. I'm pretty certain if somebody's suing me for $12 million, that's one that just doesn't slip through the cracks. Especially if your dad is one of the most well-known athletes ever in sports, currently in sports. According to April 2022 or 2020 court documents, his previous attorneys collectively withdrew from the case due to being informed by Sanders that he is unwilling or unable to continue funding the defense of this case. Sanders' bankruptcy filings in Colorado note that he is a graduate student looking for a fresh start in life. I mean, I laugh because it's like, come on, man. I'm looking at a picture where Shiloh Sanders appearing in the Louis Vuitton menswear ready-to-wear fall-winter 24-25 collection as part of Paris Fashion Week on January of this year. But he's just a grad student looking for a fresh start. This week, Sanders and his attorneys filed a motion in a Dallas area court to seal 21 court records dating to August 2017. They state features sensitive and confidential information relating to Sanders, whatever that means. The motion stated that Darjean has been violating the initial protective order set in 2018 on various social media platforms in recent years, part of an ongoing dispute over what information should be kept under wraps, as Sanders was a minor at the time of the incident. This April, Darjean appeared on Fearless with Jason Whitlock for a Indianapolis. He's from Indianapolis, by the way. Stephen A is a big fan of Jason Whitlock's. That's a joke. For a 90-minute sit-down interview in which he details his side of the story and includes video testimony from Deion Sanders himself. Darjean alleged that a former administrator at the school stole surveillance footage of the altercation and gave it to Deion Sanders. The former Cowboy star told TMZ in 2016 that Darjean was a real-life grifter. University of Colorado spokesman said Wednesday that the university, as well as Deion and Shiloh Sanders, are going to reserve comment as the litigation is ongoing. Lawyers for Sanders and Darjean did not respond to requests for comment. TMZ did obtain video in 2016 that shows the early stages of the altercation and alleged assault. Darjean approaches Sanders on the school's basketball court and grabs Sanders' right arm. Sanders shakes off the attempt before the video cuts to a scuffle taking place in the distance as it spills into the school's foyer. But weird and wacky stuff. But the unavailable to afford counsel, that's my favorite. Yeah, my dad's a multimillionaire, but I can't afford an attorney. So there's that. There is that. So it's not all roses and sunshine, John Boy.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Deion Sanders. It seems like it's almost like the football version of the Kardashians.
It's not great when you say you've got no money and you're just a grad student looking for a fresh start, but yet you're in Paris week.
Yeah.
Really? You're appearing in Louis Vuitton's catalogs. From my best recognition, those Louis Vuitton bags and wallets and all that stuff, man, unless you buy that on a street corner in New York, pretty pricey.
1 minute.
Man, another fun show today. Cannot thank everybody enough. Shannon Griffith, of course, joining us to talk some IU football. Bob Kravitz, as we talked a little bit of everything. Tyler Smith from thehoosier.com joining us as well. And we got to hear from Mike Woodson tomorrow. In addition to JD Campbell, I believe, joining us, John Boy. Who else do we got lined up?
I gotta stop doing too many things at once because I keep turning my microphone
I'm always leave your microphone on. I'm coming back to you.
We've got we should have Zach Osterman tomorrow and maybe Casey Bartley as well. But yeah, we'll get that all taken care of for you.
We shall see. And what else we might be able to add, and we'll hear more from Mike Woodson as well. As a fun night last night at Huber's Orchard and Winery again. Big thanks for everybody that, like I said, introduced themselves to me last night. That's always fun. So looking forward to seeing more of you. But we'll let you go and appreciate you as always. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.